Horsell Common is located in the UK, just outside Woking in Surrey. It's famously the place where the Martians landed in H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, but has existed as an area of open heathland since the Bronze Age, when humans started to clear the land for agriculture and to graze livestock. As the land was cleared, the rain began to leach the soil of nutrients, and in turn it became acidic, forming the habitat that we see here today.
Having dodged enclosure back in 1805, the 910 acres of common land actually passed under the management of the Horsell Common Preservation Society in 1910, and then in 1966 the HCPS actually bought the land.
There are areas of lowland heath like Horsell Common across Surrey and the southeast of England. These are very special places, containing a mix of rare habitats and equally uncommon wildlife.
And that's what this series is all about. Each month we'll be looking at what you can find on and around the Surrey heathlands, just like this one at Horsell Common. We'll also be talking to experts who can tell us about the plants, animals, birds and insects that call this place home, this place that's right on our doorstep.
This month, with autumn in the air, we'll be catching up with local fungi expert Richard Alder about what fungi we can expect to see popping up on our heathlands. And with the summer migrants now well and truly departed, we'll be focusing on one of the best known residents of heathland habitats, the amber-listed Dartford Warbler. We'll be talking to Tim Britt-Searle from the Thames Basin Heaths Partnership about why we find the birds on our commons, why it's an important habitat for them, and the work that's being done to keep them here.
And that's all coming up, along with what to look out for on a Surrey heathland near you right now. In the meantime, I'm Phil, this is Duncan, and this is Surrey Uncommon. Welcome to Surrey Uncommon. Well, autumn is definitely here. It's time for the leaves to change colour, the birds to fly south, and for weird and wonderful things to start bursting from the ground. That's right, it's fungi season.
I'm here with Richard Alder, who is a local fungi expert. Now, I know we don't need to say this, but please do not pick or eat any mushrooms or fungi unless you're an expert. They can be highly poisonous.
So what would you be this time of year?
Well, at the moment,
What are you looking out for?
well, at the moment I say, with my group, we are doing 2 forays a week, 2 recording surveys a week,
Okay.
which is pretty hectic. Yeah, we do about 30 in a year. We're the only ones in the country who do, I think, do that many, and we try to cover Surrey and West Sussex.
Okay.
So I was down on the South Downs at Chanctonbury Ring last Thursday, then we're at Epsom Common tomorrow.
Wow, you are busy.
Yeah, we've been on the Littlehampton Beach, even in the dunes, and that we do Esher Common and around that, and well, we have been here a couple of times, but we'll have to do it more often, I think. We actually record, we write it down, and then it goes onto our database, which is on a website, and that material goes to Surrey Wildlife Trust, and it also goes to the national database.
Okay.
So that is, that's the satisfaction.
Yeah.
Literally the satisfaction is that every time I go out, I've been doing this so long, every time I go out I see something new. Would you believe that?
Really?
Yeah, there's 6,000 species in Surrey,
Right.
15,000 in UK, I believe. So yeah, 6,000 species.
Just
I
in
don't
Surrey?
say I know, yeah, just in Surrey, yeah.
Which I suppose is why it's difficult to identify.
Yeah,
every single
you're
one.
up against it. Some of them are very small, but some are quite large, yeah. But yeah, it is up against it when you're just looking at photographs as well. But
Let's go and see if we can find some.
So, yeah, we ought to see some fungus. I hope so. For the next time. What's that?
What's that?
Oh God, that is dead. Oh, that's a bit more. That's more like it. That's that. Oh, I love showing people this, because especially if you can show them the honey fungus, then you show them this, and this is something called sulphur tuft. Now it does exactly the same really, except it doesn't. It's not a parasite.
Right.
It's perfectly harmless, but it comes in great clumps, and you can see if you look back at that, it's different.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to apply to tree surgeons and people. They call that honey fungus.
Right.
And it's not.
It's definitely not.
It's not. It's definitely, look at it. It's completely different colour underneath, that lovely sort of greeny yellow colour. And it is a pretty thing, and it's much abused. And it's only doing its job like it's doing here. quietly wiping that out.
Just decomposing that stump, is it?
Turn it to dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favourite? What do you always look out for every
Oh.
year? Is there one thing that you always go?
I've got one favourite. That's called the velvet shank. Comes in clumps, and it's got a beautiful dark furry stem and a golden top, sticky top, and it comes up in winter. It hasn't come up yet, but it
In
comes-
winter? Okay.
I've actually picked them in January.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're lovely. They smell. They got an interesting smell. This is what you don't want. Oh God, yeah. That actually, I don't like to touch it in case it ain't.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. I think we got away with that. Yeah, yeah. This is interesting. This is that was a thing called the brown roll rim, which is a very common thing with birches, and what it gets is this mould,
Okay.
which is white to start with, then it goes to that beautiful golden colour, so the whole thing turns to gold. And it's called the golden bolete mould.
Does it grow in the ground, or does it grow?
No, it's growing on the well, they were the live fruit bodies,
Right.
but it's actually that is a parasite. Yeah, that is definitely a parasite. Would you believe? That's two different ones. Yeah. It's not blushing, is it? No. It unfortunately lost its base. Very technical.
Go on.
This, if it bruises red, that's a thing called the blusher. But I don't think that is. So, yes, you can see them. If you had that, you can see there's actually tram lines, you might call them. There's
Okay.
lines all the way under there, and that makes it the grey spotted amanita. I think these English names, a lot of these have been invented in the last 10-20 years. There weren't that many English names.
Okay.
So these names I can't. I'll try. I'm getting quite good.
So poisonous, or
Probably not a great thing, because there's a thing called the panther cap,
right?
which is almost identical. Which is why you want to see the base, because that has a sort of cup and saucer
Right.
base
okay.
on it. But it's things are more pointy than that. These are more flattened. Some are looking a bit pointy. Yeah. I know this isn't a panther cap, but I did see one last week. Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
Yeah, they do seem to be out. They're not common, but this year there seem to be more of them. Yeah,
Okay.
we are seeing them. They're called brittle gills because
They're
you
quite.
go like that. Most of them the gills just fall to bits. And this one's this is the birch brittle gill. So you'll find one that's white, completely white. Is it? Yeah, it looks like that's gone, hasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, gone completely white. Yeah, that is it.
Yep.
It's pretty well. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I rest my case. That is it. Yeah.
Didn't even see that one.
Now that is it. That thing that was all mouldy,
Yeah.
that was the brown roll rim. That is a nice fresh shiny one. It's the most interesting fungus because it was sold in markets
Okay.
for centuries. I mean, there
For
are
eating.
coloured photos of it in markets, so it's within living memory. But in actual fact, it did kill one mycologist, one fungus expert, one of the old time ones, because they discovered that it's a slow poison.
Right.
It messes with your blood cells. Yeah, big time over the years. It doesn't kill you in the first year, it kills you after 10-20 years, and you don't know what did it.
So then it's called a roll rim, obviously, because
of that
literally
rolling,
that rolling
yeah,
rim.
it does. It more or less stays like that. Yeah.
Just point it round towards the camera. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I say that's with the birch trees, and there'll be an awful lot of them. They wouldn't kill
But
you
these
straight
would
away.
actually kill you
I say,
eventually.
They didn't kill people. People were being killed, or their lifespan was shorter than it would have been. But they didn't know. Oh, there's another one there now. That's it. Come out there. Ah, now that's interesting, my word. That's interesting. Now that is a very pale version of the false chanterelle. The false chanterelle is the liquor-like,
Okay.
and there's more of this because they're with the pines. You'll see they are. They're not actually on the. They're not mycorrhizal. They're actually in the rubbish. They're actually eating the bits. But yeah, they are different from the chanterelle. If you know, the gills on here are much more closely spaced, and the other ones are more lumpy. Oh yeah. Oh, I
forgot.
That's
dog poo, is it?
That's a bit of dog poo there. Oh!
There you go. Is that?
I don't know what that. Anybody idea what that is? I can't recognise that at all. No.
That's your absolute standard fly.
That's your fly Garrick. Yeah,
that's
it,
the
yeah.
one that everyone sees.
Yeah.
With
They're having
signals on them.
a rocking year this as well. Yeah, they really are. Dinner plate ones around. Yeah, and that's with the birch, as you see. Yeah, that is mycorrhizal. That is growing along.
So that'll
with
be
the
all
birch.
through under
All
here.
through, yeah. The network is all underneath you. Yeah, it's all completely underneath you. That's another roll rim, I think. Yeah.
See, I'm going to know roll rims now. That's it. That's one thing I can now recognise.
Yeah, you recognise the roll rim. Unfortunately, there's about 6 species.
Oh, okay. So what's that one?
This is going to be the birch one.
Okay.
But there's another one with oaks. There's two with
much bigger over there.
with sallows. Yeah, they are tricky to identify.
So where's sort of across Surrey? Where's your favourite place to go?
Well,
looking?
the favourite place of everybody in a way is Brookwood Cemetery,
Okay.
because I keep the records for that, and I've got 936 species.
Wow.
Last time I looked, 936 species. Yeah. But unfortunately the council have got it now. They're tidying it a bit too much. They're going mad with the tidying. But yeah,
What's this?
There we are. Oh, look at that! Isn't that sweet? So this is another brittle gill, and I think there's something like 200 brittle gills in Britain, and they got a nasty habit of losing their colour.
So what's the best time for sort of searching? Is there a good time?
No, because it's all gone to cock.
Is it weather and rain?
It really has. Well, the rain is certainly a help. Yeah, because they are all water. So
Yeah.
you do need rain, and but the actual time of year, it's just kept moving. When I was a lad, they used to run fungus courses in mid-September or
Right.
even early September. Waste of time now because
That's
high summer now.
Yeah. Now it has to be October. does it?
We put it to October. Now we're getting November. November is being reasonable and going into December. Yeah, you'll like that.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Wow, look at that one.
Oh yeah. That's the amethyst deceiver. It's called a deceiver because that's one of the things it deceives. It's one of these that changes colour. It washes out. You see a fungus. What the hell's that? And you only recognise it when you turn it over. And then it's like that. Yeah. I mean, they are lovely. I mean, they are.
And
there were chefs. I don't know if they're still. We're actually serving them as part of the decorative part of their of their whatever dish it was. Yeah, yeah.
And
there was one great mycologist, head at Kew, who that was the only one he would eat himself.
really?
Yeah, it's the only one he felt.
Is that because it's
happy
very
with that.
obvious?
It's
or-
very obvious, yeah. But it's not because it's purple, because there's some awfully dodgy purple ones, yeah. It is quite distinctive if you know it, though. Oh, right. Wait, it's not a deceiver, is it?
There's some smaller ones here as well. It's not the same.
Oh my God. What was that? Well, it is. It's an actual brittle stem. A brittle stem. Is there more of them? I'm sure there ought to be.
Yeah, there's a few more there.
There ought to be a little
there you
group
go.
of those, I
Yeah.
think. Oh yeah, there we are. Yeah.
Few.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite. Oh, that's very lovely, isn't it? Oh no, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I might have been fooled there. I think I have. I think that is actually a web cap. That's a very tiny web cap. I have no idea what it is. I was doing 2 of them yesterday. Oh dear, yeah, they are. That's another family.
Right.
That's about 300 of them, and they seem to be morphing. The people are doing them by DNA. They are
Right,
actually
'cause they are changing, are
trying
they?
to sort them out. They're so awkward and so confused that they're actually doing them by DNA now. Oh look! Oh, I'm
What
afraid,
is that?
I'm afraid we are getting into brittle gills. Now I had one of these yesterday because somebody wasn't happy about what it was, but I thought I know what it is. Now I know when it does that
Yeah.
because this is the yellow swamp russula,
Okay.
which doesn't require a swamp. It does require birch trees, and a sort of dampish area, a bit of a hollow. But it's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lovely colour. There's another one.
Oh, is it the same?
This is a different one. This is one they call now. I say they've been making these English names up. This one they call the flirt
The flirt.
because it shows its petticoat. Yeah, because it exposes a bit of the white around the edge. That colour is supposed to be old ham.
Old ham.
Well, old ham. I don't know what old ham, but it is hammy sort of colour. Does that? I think you might find that's a bit hotter to a taste, but I don't think there's so much to smell with it. I don't think there's.
No,
No,
just
not
earthy. That's all,
No,
really.
I don't-
Obviously, for people who are looking, would you recommend they don't pick them? They don't. I certainly don't eat them unless they are 100% sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is the first rule. Yeah. And if you, how do you get to be 100% sure? I don't know.
But obviously, with given a
Yeah.
recent news stories about people eating mushrooms and obviously
They do. Well, it's usually death caps.
Mm.
But there was that guy, that author, who ate a web cap,
Mm.
which I don't know how he managed to do that. I think he thought they were chanterelles, and of course that was the other thing is the shape, because things like that. I mean, they can start like that, but then they can be up like that. So he sees a picture of something yellow that's that shape, and he thinks, oh, that's a chanterelle, which is pretty grim. But no, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. It was a very dangerous web cap that had gone right the way from that
to that.
up to that. Yeah. So yeah, the shape. That's the thing with pictures in books. You get one picture. If you get one picture, it doesn't tell you the whole story of how that develops and how it opens up.
And I suppose, I mean, and there's lots of apps now, aren't there, that will do
There's
the
apps.
recognition for you. But
Well,
I suppose
yeah.
you can't then still guarantee that that's what it is.
No, and it's bone idle anyway. It's bone idle, isn't it? It's like sat navs, which I haven't got. I just think there should be more groups. It's the only way to go out. It's more fun.
And what's the group that you run?
Like Westfield Fungus Recording Group, because it started in the Westfield. It did. 1993 it started. Yeah, and it started off with half a dozen sites in the Weald, but then it sort of crept as we've developed, and say we got over the hill, and we've got nearly to the Thames, and we've got down to the Littlehampton Beach.
And are you seeing interest increasing in fungus?
What?
Increasing? Are there more people that are
There's
interested?
more people interested. Oh, long way. Yeah, they really are. That's the social medias and stuff, isn't it? I think. Yeah. There's a lot more people interested, but I don't know. We do need to find a way of doing it rather than just people walking around taking photographs. We need to be together. Because it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, you make friends. You can talk and discuss things as you go around. We're in with Goodwood Estate.
Okay.
And also, we were the other day, and we're going to Wiston Estate, which is huge. We go to Nep. You know Nep.
I know Nep.
Yeah. I'll keep the records for them.
Amazing.
I've done them up to about 400 species now.
I mean, obviously that's a place that, the landscape's literally changing.
It is changing all the time, yeah. And they want to see what's happening, yeah. So we're back there. We're going actually into the private garden next month. I think next month is it? Yeah. But we've done the 2016. We started there. And we've been at least once a year, twice a year, sometimes. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it's been great. Spending time with you today. Thank you so much.
There we are. You've just coughed on here. Hang on, yeah.
And no, we really appreciate you sort of taking time out to show us around a bit of Horsell Common today, and I look forward to maybe catching up next year to do some mothing.
Do some moths, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Night filming, yeah.
Definitely up for that.
For part of the show. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
That's all right then, Phil.
Now, heathlands like we have here in Horsell are not only home to many types of fungi, it's also an important area for rare birds such as the nightjar, woodlark, skylark, and the bird we're about to talk about now, the Dartford Warbler. The Dartford Warbler is a small dark bird with a long tail. It has a grey head, a rusty coloured tummy, and a red eye. You'll see them flitting low in the heather and gorse, and the song is often the giveaway that they're nearby. Well, firstly, welcome Tim, welcome to Uncommon. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. So it looks like it's been a pretty good year for birds this year. Obviously the weather's been great, but how's it been for the Dartfords?
So we're not completely sure as yet. The survey data is still being collated by our consultants. I certainly heard loads of Dartford Warblers, and they were doing well last year. The mild winter that we had the previous year certainly will help them, as they very much appreciate that. They hate the cold weather.
Fantastic. Well, that's good to hear. And what is it that makes this place, so special for Dartford Warblers? What's here that they need?
So Dartford Warblers have evolved to live out on the heath. It's sort of a niche that the species has found and filled over many thousands of years. They really like to live in low-growing, dense vegetation like the gorse, like the heather. And there aren't many places in the UK where you get that anymore. Heathland's mainly the only real scrub habitat we have, and there's not much of it left. So that's only really why you find them out on the heath. They particularly like nesting in the dense vegetation because they feel safe. So that's where you may find them in the gorse. It's really spiky. It can keep the predators away. Keeps them warm in the winter as well, where they'll roost. And that's particularly important in really cold or snowy weather, where it's almost like a little igloo for them, if you will. And you might get the same in older, dense heather as well.
I suppose how do you work alongside the HCPS then? Because obviously they own the land. Where does their remit sort of end and yours start?
So Horsell Common have owned this land, I believe, since the 60s, and then even before then it was involved in the running of it, as it essentially originated from an organisation of the commoners, who would have been making a living off of the land owned by the local lord. So they own the land, they manage the land, they're in charge of the land. Our project has come in much, much, much later, and was essentially set up by all the local authorities to mitigate the effects of housing development. And thankfully, everyone in the area, including Horsell Common, signed up. So they're out doing all the hard work, and we're out having lovely conversations with people, saying hello to their dogs, educating them. We do have some difficult conversations sometimes.
So Tim, we're out in the middle of the common now. Just tell us a little bit about what makes this environment so special for Dartfords.
So Dartfords have evolved to live here essentially. They've filled a niche that would have developed over many thousands of years, and they can't really live anywhere else. They really like to nest in the gorse, in the dense heather, and it's where they forage as well. They feel nice and safe in this dense vegetation.
It's quite unusual, isn't it, for a warbler not to migrate? Why do you think they stick around?
Honestly, I think it's because their food source is here. No one really fully understands quite why birds migrate. I guess it's just that the warblers have always lived here, their food source is here, they're happy here.
And I suppose finding sort of a food throughout the winter is really important to them. And does this environment still keep food in the winter? Well, obviously it does, otherwise they wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So the gorse in particular, it's got lots of different insect species that live in it. It's got all sorts of different arthropods and arachnids. So you've got spider mites, spiders. That's where you'll often see them scurrying about looking for all of that throughout the day.
Now, obviously, keeping an area like this takes a lot of work, and I suppose in the past it would have been like grazing animals that would have done that. But obviously, we can't do that anymore unless we bring in sort of conservation grazers.
Well, exactly, yes. So this landscape many thousands of years ago would have had natural open patches without human interference. You would have had aurochs, the ancestors of cattle, you would have had the ancestors of elephants out here, and you would have naturally had these spaces that were cleared by natural processes and the animals that were here. But humans have come in and interfered with that. We've killed off a lot of the large species, we've used up a lot of the land for agriculture and for living on. So now really it's up to us to continue interfering to keep these places special.
And I suppose that can cause issues when people see like trees being felled. So obviously I think actually you're destroying what's here, but actually that's important to keep this area as it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the controversy, people getting upset, in some ways you can see it as a positive because these people care. It's simply that there's not that understanding that it has to be quite destructive to keep these places open. There's a narrative that we've got to plant lots of trees, and the country has some quite admirable tree planting targets. So it's quite understandable that someone's going to be upset to come along to their favourite nature reserve and see trees being cut down. There's a bonfire full of gorse. There is a disconnect there, and yeah, it's great that people get upset, but it's also really important that they understand why it's happening.
Yeah, and I suppose that's why it's so important for the HCPS to bring in the volunteers, isn't it? Because I suppose volunteers will come in, they'll help cut down like the birch that's coming through here, or like sort of the oaks, maybe not the oaks, I don't know if you leave those, but certainly the birch. to keep that under control. And I suppose having volunteers here is actually part of that understanding process, is it?
Oh, certainly. I think they're all members of the local community, and Horsell Common Preservation Society, I believe they probably benefit from the fact that they're a membership organisation. So they've got so many local advocates all over the place. You see their car stickers all over Surrey sometimes. But with the volunteers, it's vital. So much work in conservation is done by volunteers, and you'll also find the people who are paid to do it around doing it voluntarily elsewhere as well.
Obviously, this is a really important place, not just for Dartford Warblers, but for people as well, to get out and about in. So what can we all do, I suppose, to help sort of keep this environment, exactly like it is now, and a great place for the Dartfords?
So really there's two main things that we want visitors to Horsell Common do, and to any heathland really, and that's stay on the paths as well as keeping your dogs on the paths. We really don't want people going off and potentially disturbing birds from their nests or disturbing them near their nests with their young, and that's vital March to September, and we kind of encourage people to do it all through the year just to get into the habit of doing it. And another really important thing is wildfire awareness.
Okay.
So we really don't want people coming and having barbecues, campfires, starting any kind of fire really. This habitat, as you may know, is very, very flammable. Anything like a gorse bush may suddenly go up like a bomb almost. So yeah, fire is completely out. You're welcome to come and have a picnic, but after you've cooked it at home. And also, as well as not starting fires, calling the fire brigade. If you see smoke, particularly in the summer, that's not being attended to, please do call 999 and ask for the fire brigade. Make sure you're safe. So many people will see wildfire and assume someone's fooling with it.
So Tim, if people are sort of out and about on the common at the moment, what can they expect to see and hear?
You're certainly still going to hear some Dartford Warblers. They're active, they're singing most of the year. It's quite reliable, particularly in lovely weather like this. The mushrooms, the fungus is starting to come out. The heathlands have a lot of pines. They're quite good places to see things like iconic fly agaric, the brilliant red.
I was going to say, that's the one with the spots on, isn't it? Like the classic
typical,
sort of,
typical toadstool, basically. Stone chat should still be about. They don't go very far. Some of them stay on the heathland all year round. Again, the stone noise of the two stones being banged together is a really iconic sound there. And again, if you hear a stone chat, listen out and look out for the Dartford Warbler as well. They're often found together.
They tend to hang together, do they? Okay, that's cool. And owls are starting to call this time?
Certainly heard some tawny owls. There have been reports in previous years of barn owls in this area as well, so keep an eye out for them.
And that's sort of like dusk and dawn, is it, when you see those? Or
they start to get active at that time of day. It's not unusual to see them during the day. They may come out, particularly if they've got young to feed, but dusk and dawn and all through the night, really.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks again so much for being with us today and being on Uncommon, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Hopefully.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can notify you every time we post a new video. I'm Phil, and this has been Surrey Uncommon. I'll see you next time.